I've been a yoga teacher for the past 8 years and so much has changed since then. So when I first started teaching, I opened up a little yoga studio and then it grew, so I moved to a bigger one and then I moved to an even bigger one, which it took a lot of renovation, but I got there in the end. So a lot of things have happened, so I've learned a lot of things during this whole process of becoming a yoga teacher. And some things have been quite easy, some things have been very pleasant, other things have been a bit more challenging. And so for anyone who might be interested in becoming a yoga teacher, who is a yoga teacher, or just might be curious about what it's like to be a yoga teacher, in this video I'd like to share a few things that I've learned along the way that might help you out. So the first thing is, your friends don't have to be your students. So this was the first learning curve for me when I started teaching. So I remember when I started practicing yoga, it was like this whole new world opened up to me and I wanted to learn as much as I could about it. So I'd go to classes, I'd go to workshops, I'd travel abroad. I started going to India to my teacher there. Now, I remember when I first started teaching, because I just moved back to my hometown, there were no other yoga studios around, so my friends were my first students. And the thing is, what I realized is that they didn't really like or love the practice as much as I did, and that's perfectly okay. So in the beginning, it was a bit of a blow to me. I thought it reflected on me as a teacher, how good or how bad I was. But with time, I realized that actually not everyone is going to love the practice as much as you do. So with time, your students, your true students will find you. So this was the lesson that I learned. Your friends love you, but they don't have to love everything that you love, and that's perfectly okay. Now, the second thing is to be yourself. This is true for most beginners to anything really, that you will find people that inspire you and you might try to, let's say, mimic them. And so here's the thing, there are so many good and successful yoga teachers out there, or who appear to be very successful, and you might think, oh, such and such would have said this and such would have done that. Now, in the beginning, it's okay to take inspiration from these people. So the best thing that I tried to learn is to stop comparing myself to these other teachers. It was, okay, what would I like to maybe learn from them? And that's it. And with time and with practice, and the more you teach, you will find your true voice. So you will find how you actually want to teach. The third thing is to always keep learning. Now, I remember when I finished my yoga teacher training, I was like, oh my God, I've got this certificate, I'm ready to go and teach. And then when I started teaching, I realized I know close to nothing. And I think that's something that is shared by quite a lot of yoga teachers out there. Maybe I'll make another video on this about yoga teacher trainings, but for now, let's just say that a yoga teacher training is basically the start, it's the foundation. And then from there, try to always keep learning. Now, yoga is this vast experience, universe, whatever you want to call it. And there's so many things that we can learn from this. So in the beginning, you'll feel like, okay, maybe I don't know enough. And then try to make a point, that's what I did at least. I made a point of finding out the things that I'd like to know more about, and then I looked at the teachers that would help me learn these things. And I made a point of trying to learn with them as often or as much as I could. So I've got 3 main teachers. One is in India, one is in France, and one is in Bali in Indonesia. So I try to make a point of traveling to them. Nowadays, most people do these things online. Try to find courses online and try to broaden your experiences. Lesson 4, prioritize your practice. Now, there's a little catch-22 situation going on with yoga teachers. So here's the thing, especially if teaching yoga is your main source of income, you want to teach a lot of classes each day in order to make enough money. So when I started teaching, I was teaching maybe 4 or 5 classes a day, and I was also demonstrating in most of these classes. And what meant was that I was absolutely exhausted, both physically and mentally. And so I didn't have the energy to do my own practice. So here's what I started to do. First of all, I started to minimize how much I was demonstrating in each class. And the second thing I started to do was prioritizing my own practice. Now, if you still don't have the time and energy to do a long practice each day, at least consider doing a short practice every day. Now this can be just some silent sitting or just a few sun salutations. Anything that can bring you in touch with your own practice, because with time it'll start to show and you'll start to not really enjoy teaching as much. So try to make a point of prioritizing your practice. Now the next thing is to try to detach your ego from your teaching. Now I remember when I had like all these buzzing classes going on, I was feeling very optimistic and energized and everything was great. And then when maybe things weren't going so well, I didn't have that many students in each class, I was feeling really demotivated and lethargic. And what I realized was, yes, okay, the teaching was the same. There's so many factors that can affect how many students you have in each of your classes. So one thing I did learn is try to not let my ego go along with any fluctuations in numbers of students. Even if you don't have that many students, try to use it as a learning opportunity. Try to get to know your students even better. And so the next thing ties on is to give it your all, even if you've got 2 students in your class. Now actually I should have changed this to even just having 1 student in your class. I've had situations where there was just 1 person that turned up to my class. I could have been demotivated, I could have felt bad, but what I did is I tried to make it as a learning experience. So I tried to ask them what they want to know more about, what they'd like to work on, what maybe physical issues they've got. And I used this as a way to, as a little workshop to learn more about this person and more about their body type and how they feel about the practice. And then after that, with this new knowledge, I try to then become an even better teacher by using maybe individual traits, individual things that people might need. And the next thing is to be your students' cheerleader. Now, when as yoga teachers, we're there to guide our students and help them progress in this practice, but we're also there to be their cheerleaders, so to cheer them on when maybe physically they're able to do something or mentally we've been able to help them out with something that they've been struggling with. Now, hopefully we've had the same experience with our own teachers. Our own teachers were there to cheer us on, and now it's the time to pass this on to our students. And so the last thing that I've learned as being a yoga teacher is how important it is to have a mentor. So this can be 1 mentor, this can be a few mentors. This has helped me tremendously, especially if you're living maybe far away from other teachers and you might start to feel kind of isolated. This might also be the situation now with all this change going on in the world where maybe we are feeling a bit more isolated. So this is the thing, find teachers that you respect, that you feel that you could learn from, and they could become your mentors. You don't have to live in the same town, you don't even have to live in the same country as them. So this is something that I did. I make a point of doing classes with them online because that's the only way we can do it now. But then when everything opens up again, I'm really looking forward to learning in person with them again, because I know that they help me a lot. They help me find the motivation I need to carry on practicing and teaching. And so whether you've been teaching yoga for a week, a month, years, or you're thinking about doing it, what things have you learned? What have you learned from this whole process? I'd love to hear anything you've got in the comments below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.